a very well orchestrated, mainly concentrated in Britain and the United States. A well orchestrated, well organized, well coordinated attempt to destroy chiropractic as we know it today and incorporate it into the medical profession. If we look at the past 100 years, chiropractic has continuously been under threat to survive right from the word go. However, despite the fact that there was infighting within chiropractic, it was always the outside, mainly medical influences attacking chiropractic. And chiropractic, as history has shown, has defended itself extremely well against these outside influences. In 1985, the Wilk case found the American Medical Association and all its affiliates guilty of what was called antitrust laws, where they were found guilty of plotting, number one, to discredit chiropractic and ultimately to destroy chiropractic. And Wilk, who is a lawyer, took those organizations, the American Medical Association, to court, the Supreme Court of America, where they won. And the Supreme Court of America ordered the American Medical Association to cease from its activities of trying to discredit and destroy chiropractic. And for the last 20 years, it's all been quiet, right?
No.
But all of a sudden, from nowhere, in Britain, with the General Chiropractic Council declaring that subluxation is a historical term and chiropractors aren't allowed to even use the term chiropractic.
It's ridiculous.
That the chiropractic colleges in Britain don't teach the term subluxation. Now we're finding that the CCE in America, the Council on Chiropractic Education, which has worldwide influence, is doing exactly the same thing. This now is a attack on the principles of chiropractic from within. Right? And where they're doing it, where their efforts are mainly centered, is at the educational institutions, in other words, the colleges. Why? Because what it means is that all new graduates come out not even knowing what chiropractic is, because if you don't know what subluxation is, you don't know what chiropractic is. So if you take the ACC in England, where I graduated, they don't even talk about subluxation. It's not even part of the curriculum. So how can any new graduate come out who call themselves a chiropractic know anything about chiropractic, because the subluxation is what is central to the chiropractic paradigm.
So what were you saying about the big players?
Yeah. So now what has changed with this continual threat that chiropractors have had to endure in the last 100 years is that the threat is not from without. In other words, the medical profession versus the chiropractic profession. What has actually happened really is that an infiltration of pro-medical people, chiropractors, educationalists, activists, and all of them now are undermining chiropractic from within. Now, it's easy to defend threats from without, but the greatest threat in any organization, whether it's a kingdom or if it's a country or whatever, it's easy to defend oneself from outside threats, influences. But when it comes to the internal, that's the problem. And what's even worse, that is more insidious, in that you have got graduates, even going back to my days more than 20 years ago, where the philosophy of chiropractic was being undermined, where you spoke about D.D. Palmer, the founder of chiropractic, and B.J. Palmer, the developer of chiropractic, in disparaging terms. You joke about the founders of chiropractic, you know, whereas more and more science outside of chiropractic, quantum mechanics, etc., showing how brilliant Palmer actually was, that everything he was saying actually was correct, even the kind of weird stuff, right? Now what you've got is that chiropractors eliminate from the definition that it's a drugless healing art without using surgery. Now they've removed that. In other words, that's opening the door to allow prescription rights, which already is shown in Britain with the BCA. The president of the BCA, Brown, right, has applied or has put forward the idea that chiropractors should apply for prescription rights, right? So really we're seeing this process in place. So we can look at history to see what's happened to osteopathy in the United States. Nowadays there isn't a single osteopathic college in the United States. Why? Because osteopathy is absorbed into medicine. If you want to be trained to be an osteopath, you go to medical school, because there are no osteopathic schools.
So what does that mean for chiropractors like yourself?
Well, it depends what happens with law, right? These people are pushing to change the laws, amend the laws in a way that is going to restrict the scope of practice of chiropractic purely to minor orthopedic problems. In other words, sore backs and sore necks, right? And the chiropractic is not about sore backs and sore necks, it's about health. Why? Because the subluxation is a mechanical dysfunction in the spine causing a nerve interference. A nerve interference is the critical part of this. The adjustment is adjusting the mechanical disorders in the spine to get rid of this nerve interference. What's the significance? The significance is that the nervous system is your master control system. And with nerve interference, your physiology cannot work at its optimum. Now we live our lives through our nervous systems, right? If our nervous systems are being interfered with, our perception of our environment is going to be influenced in some way or another. We are now seeing in epigenetics that our genetic expression is determined by our perception of our environment. Genes are switched on and switched off depending upon the amount of stress, for instance, that we are placed under. The amount of stress is how we perceive this so-called threat. Because it might not be a threat at all. Our nervous system might be so in a state of disarray that we perceive events in our life as stressful that aren't actually stressful. Okay? So it's hugely important that chiropractic be allowed to carry on doing what it originally was designed to do, to get rid of nerve interference, which allows the body to express itself in a way that is going to achieve optimum health. So all of these new things that are happening, that you see, these amendments that want to take place within chiropractic, is a threat to the actual practice of chiropractic per se.